All right, good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the February 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Monroe County Election Board. First on the agenda is old business, and we are approving 2 months of minutes today, or hopefully approving 2 months. So has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of both January and December?
I have, and I will make a motion, Mr. Chair, to accept and approve the minutes from both the December 1st, 2022 election board meeting as well as the January 5th, 2023 election board meeting. I have no additions, changes, deletions.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right.
Chairperson Garlitz,
Yes.
Board Member, Corey Ray, and Clerk Brown.
Yes.
And motion approved, 3-0.
All right, next on the agenda is a discussion of the campaign finance policy, procedure, guidelines, however we want to refer to it as. We had this discussion of multiple times, but we brought it to the attention of the board in January. It's already February, that's crazy. In February for official action, and here we are. We've circulated some drafts with the agendas and want to open that up for discussion and perhaps a motion to approve any sort of updated procedure with any amendments to the drafts.
What I'll say first is I appreciate the proposed draft. As indicated in previous meetings, I feel that we've gone above and beyond trying to help candidates be aware. And now we just kind of need to revamp some things, I think. I had an opportunity to review the Marion County Election Board minutes and how they assess their fines. And so I really like this proposed draft, which takes us from 4 offenses down to 3. The notification to the candidates the first time, that's clearly, here you are, you were late, we don't want to discourage anybody from running. And then beginning to implement a fraction of the fine with the second offense, and finally the third offense, kind of the 3 strikes and you're out rule. So I am certainly in favor of this proposal.
Yeah, I am in favor as well. I would like to see it implemented, in a timely manner that makes sense. After the primary season, I think would be good. So that's my 2 cents on the matter.
I would have no issue with that
So implementation after.
after this primary.
I think the general gives
So-
people enough time to be notified, enough time to prepare, and it wouldn't disrupt anything that's already happened. So,
Okay. I would, just for the public record and for the record of this meeting, I'll read into the record what the proposal is, just so that we have that. Our current procedure is that the first and second offense of being late for CFAs have no penalty, no monetary penalty. Third offense is 25% of the statute defined penalty. And then after that, it's 100%. The proposal basically adds to our procedure the fact that we will be with candidate packets, notifying every candidate of the policy in writing so that they have that as soon as they file, or as soon as the election office gives out that packet, I should say. And then we're simply moving up the current offenses to basically get away from that second offense, no penalty. So first offense would be notification. We will also notify candidates in a public meeting. We will name them in a public meeting so that they are also put on notice that way. And any additional communication or notification on that matter will be the responsibility of the party chairs. We had a brief discussion last meeting that, or I don't know if it was a discussion, it was certainly my opinion and my comment that I don't think that should be the responsibility of the election office or of the clerk. because I just think that's above and beyond the scope of what they should be doing, and it's undue burden on them in the thousands of things that they already do. So party chairs, second offense, 50% of the statutory max, which is $1,000 per day. Is $50 per day up to $1,000 maximum. And then third offense is 100% of the statutory max, which is $50 a day, up to $1,000 maximum. And then the last kind of note that we have is candidates and their committees should pay the fines in full or dispute them at a regularly scheduled meeting of the Monroe County Election Board. And that is what we already do. So with that, I would entertain a motion, and I think that should a motion be made to approve, please add the caveat that we will implement this post-primary season 23.
I'll make a motion to approve with the amendment to have it start after the primary season of 2023.
I will second the motion with the proposed amendment to the proposal.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded, first and seconded. I don't know what I'm talking about. Please call the roll.
Chairperson Garlitz,
Yes.
Board Member Ray,
Yes.
and Clerk Brown.
Yes.
And the motion has been approved 3-0.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have new business. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Wheeler and Clerk Brown.
Okay, updates. We're coming right down to the wire of candidates filing to be on the ballot for the primary of 2023. The deadline is tomorrow at noon. And the board members, you all have received an outline or a list of people who have filed, and they're grouped together with the office that they have filed for. So you see who's filed for the mayor and the city council. There's some that are contested, some that are not. The big thing is that we still do not have any contested races for Steinsville nor Ellettsville. So that means we won't know until tomorrow at noon if we have an election in either one of those towns. And that is a significant thing because we can't set the polling sites unless we know where all the polling sites are going to be. So that's going to be waiting until tomorrow. So I'm not for sure when the election board would need to meet back to be able to get all this done. And when that's done, then of course the questionnaires need to go out to each polling site. They are ready to go if we don't have any Richland or Bean Blossom precincts involved with that. But we just need those things to be confirmed and signed off on, you guys. And the commissioners also need to confirm the poll sites, I believe.
So might I make a suggestion that we recess from today's meeting with a plan to come back together 2 weeks from today, February 16th, so that we can address this after the closing of file?
I certainly agree with recessing and coming back, but my only question would be, how long do we need to assess all that information? Do we need the 2 weeks? Or should we just come back Monday and get everything done?
I will be leaving. I would need to name a proxy, but if we're coming back Monday, we would need to get that notice out today.
I'm not saying it Monday. I'm just suggesting, do we need the full 2 weeks, or how do the offices, how much time do you guys need?
I think Monday is a good thing because I think you're going to be able to make a decision very quickly. If there's none, what's been set up, it's good. You sign off on that, the commissioners sign off, whatever they need to do. And then those questionnaires can be sent out. It takes some time for them they're normally sent out email, and so they come back faster now. We have one. Oh, they're not in the mix because it's a municipal. So all of them would be by email for this election, and the schools and such have been pretty good about sending them back. But you know, the ballot needs to be ready to go by March 18th to be sent out. So the time's slipping by, it does get a little, yes.
So
question?
do we have the 72 hours, because we'd have to do notice right after this meeting.
Good.
Do we have the 72 hours?
I don't necessarily think that. I think we just recess and then coordinate what is the soonest that we can get together. And
So if we recess, then you can come back, because we just recessed.
yeah, we don't even need a
It's
notice,
not-
I don't believe.
Well, you
Perhaps
need to-
council could chime in on that.
I'm looking at the Access to Public Record Handbook right now.
Recessing, you should be able to come back.
Yeah.
I just won't, I'll have to name a proxy, but that I can.
We
do
can
it.
discuss the availability after. I'm not, my question was just, do we need the 2 weeks? So I think that we'll just recess either way, and we'll
Meet back as soon as
meet back as
possible.
soon as possible in order to get everything out in a timely manner.
I think, yeah, recessing would be a good idea regardless, because I still need to talk to Chair Henry, as I'm just his proxy today, so I don't know what his schedule will look like or when
Of
he's
course.
next available, so more time, I think, would be better for this specific instance.
And I don't imagine if anything but that is on the agenda, the meeting would take longer than a half hour.
If
And
we don't add the Steinsville and Ellettsville, all the paperwork on my end is done.
understood. Okay, so let's figure out the date at perhaps after the meeting, and we'll notice appropriately if we need to. Otherwise, we will notice when it is regardless, so the public will be aware of that. Okay, anything else?
I guess I'm holding on to the CFA 4s, so that's the next thing. I think otherwise I'm pretty good.
And I have nothing other than, I've been back and forth to Indianapolis for the legislative session. There are some good things coming down the pike to make things easier for clerks and elections. Always good news to hear that. And so, stay tuned, more to come.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Okay, next under new business is late filer's address. Mrs. Wheeler, if you'd like to,
The late filers?
yes.
We've done a lot better this time. I'm very happy for that. You also have a sheet of paper in front of you that lists all the ones that were late. I have received every one excepting one. Am I allowed to say the name or not, or it's the top one?
I think you are. We can deal with the repercussions
Okay.
if there's an issue.
So Andrew Gunther has not filed. I have sent him several emails and also sent everyone on this list a regular letter in the mail, including him, and he has not responded. But everyone else has turned in their CFA 4. Thelma Jeffries actually had 2 that she was missing. So I don't know about the penalties and such, since that we normally, I don't know if we've ever had one that has gone that long, that missed one and then missed the second one. She also sent a letter, it should be right behind that first sheet of paper, that gives you an explanation, but I don't know how much we want to get into it, but some of that wasn't exactly accurate of what happened, but she did turn them in. I do have them. She was a little confused with if she marked on the CFA none, and I think she meant final, but on her CFA 4 she did mark none as a committee, and that really doesn't mean too much to us for the purpose of, she thought if she marked none that she would not have to do another CFA 4. That is not true. If she marked final, which she has now done, she wouldn't have had to do another one. So she was a little confused with the pre-election CFA 4 along with the annual. And so for her, I don't have, you're always telling me if they're forgiven. You've forgiven all of them excepting Marty Stevens because he hadn't sent a letter, which you now have it. So I need a forgiveness on him, if that's what you're choosing, and the Thelma Jeffries, if that is what you're going to be doing. Have I confused you?
I think we should just go through one at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and we just make a decision.
So let me be clear, though, according to this chart, those folks with 3 columns have been late, or
More than
late
once.
at least twice.
Thelma Jeffries?
Well, there's a
Or-
couple with,
Yes, there's a couple. Oh, and I'm sorry, Hans Kelson, I do have his. He filed out the CFA 4, but I do not have a letter, but he is present, so
He's
that
present
was his
to
option
speak for
also.
himself. Can we deal with that one first so
Sure.
that we can be
Absolutely.
respectful of Mr.
Sure.
Kelson's time?
Hello. I will
Hello.
sign in real quick.
Thank you. If you'll state your name for the record, and welcome.
Hi, I'm Hans Kelson, for the record. And I made an honest mistake. I got the email, the very helpful email reminding me to file. Unfortunately, that was the week that I was in the middle of changing jobs, and it just slipped right through the cracks, and I didn't get it done. And then I realized that, and I filed it as quickly as I could, and that is what happened to me. And I'm not sure, this happened once before, and I appeared before the board, and I think it actually technically happened a second time. I was late by 4 minutes or something like that. So I believe this will be my third offense. Under the current policy, I should pay 25%, but I'm up here to beg and plead that that not happen because I don't want it to. So that's why I'm here.
Yes, so the previous one was the annual of 2020. It was due on January 15th, 2020, and we did get it on that same day at 3 o'clock and 3:45 p.m. So, yes, it was the same day.
Okay.
And before that, it was the pre-election in 2018, and it also was 4 hours and 37
Okay.
minutes late, so it's same day, but late.
Yes. And this one, I believe, was 4 days?
6 days.
Was it 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
We count the weekends, sorry.
Oh, okay.
So are we talking 25% of $25?
no. The current policy is 25% of $50 per day. So
$12.50
times 6 would be under
times
the,
6?
yes, because it's per day, under the current policy.
Yeah.
I would be happy to entertain any motion to the contrary, but that is the policy. Can anyone do 1250 times 6?
$75.
I probably should know that, but I don't want to make that mistake publicly. So,
I'm open to discussion.
Well, I would just say it means a lot that you showed up here today. I do think that though there is a history of forgiveness, it has been within the same day. I mean, things do come up. This is a repeated pattern, but I would, on a case-by-case basis, be okay forgiving this instance for the fact of making the effort to come in person, explain, to own up that, not make excuses, but to own up that things do happen. It's a new year, I do know, though, that this is the policy and that rules have been broken, but through the effort of what has been made, I would be okay with making a motion to forgive.
motion to forgive is on the table.
And I guess I'm struggling because on the one hand, we've made very clear that people are not, candidates don't seem to take seriously the current policy. We've got a new policy and we have a third offense. And so I'm struggling with what does the policy mean if we don't do something?
Well, if we have a motion on the table, I'm happy to open that up for discussion. I Unfortunately, am going to be quite by the book. I may be leading, we are in a courtroom, but I'm going to be by the book. That's where my vote is going to go if there is a second. Otherwise, I would entertain another motion to impose the penalty. But I will say with the caveat, I do appreciate you coming.
Absolutely.
I think it is important for you to show up. I think you have made an effort. Unfortunately, it's just not how it works.
I agree. I completely agree. I think I should pay the fine.
May I ask
well, bless
a
your heart.
question that would help me? Are you planning to run for future office?
In the future, yes.
Okay, then I would make a motion that we do impose the fee per the current policy, only to make sure that there's a standard that this is important.
I completely 100% agree with you.
And so you made a motion to impose.
So there's a new motion on the table. Do we have a second for either motion? If not, I will make a second.
I will rescind my motion.
Okay, do we have a second for Clerk Brown's motion then?
A second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second on the table to impose the current policy of a fine of $75 for candidate Kelson pursuant to the policy, and we'll, can you call the roll?
All right. Chairperson Garlitz,
Yes.
Board Member Ray,
Yes.
Clerk Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0.
Thank you,
Right.
and
was
thank you
very-
for being here.
Thank
Yes,
you
of
for
course.
being here. Thank
I'm-
you for being a candidate, and I'm excited that you're going to run again.
I don't know when, but someday I probably will.
When you do, we certainly wish you well, and we thank you for understanding. And it's certainly, I'm hopeful that you are appreciative of the fact that it is a fraction of what it could have been.
Oh, I'm very appreciative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On
And I hope you're not late again.
Me too.
You
On a-
won't be.
I probably will not. On a practical note, how do I pay that fine?
You would come to the Monroe County Clerk's office,
Okay,
and we will take great care of you.
I will do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was very big of you. Good job. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to restate what I said before because it wasn't exactly accurate. We have 5 of them that need to be forgiven or fined. And that would be Thelma, Chris, Scott, Marty, and Aaron.
Okay, so do we want to go back to being in order, or do we want to go?
Well, I think that for candidate Jeffries, candidate Reynolds, candidate Smith, candidate Stevens, and candidate Wyatt, it seems as if I apologize. They were all late, except Thelma was on time for this last one. Is that what I'm reading correctly by this?
So Marty Stevens, it was his first time ever being late.
Well, right, but is Jeffries on time then for this last one?
She said,
No, she was late.
so there's a letter.
I just don't have how many days late.
Oh, yeah.
Do you happen to know that so I can mark it
Oh,
down?
yes, because it was due on January 18, so she was 2 days late.
2 days. Okay. Let's start with candidate Gunther. Still have not received anything. This is the first offense.
Yes.
Pursuant to current policy, do we have a motion on that one?
For one we've not received?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess it doesn't matter. We're not going to, if it's the first one, we're not going to impose any fine because it's a warning anyway. So let's let this serve as a warning, but should we motion and?
I will
Pass
make a
it.
motion to, for a warning, given that it is the first of it.
I'll second that.
In roll call, Chairperson Garlitz,
Yes.
Board Member Ray,
Yes.
Clerk Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0. So he's forgiven.
Yes, even though it's not in yet. So
Gotcha.
if you're listening, Mr.
will.
Gunther, please get that in. Next is Thelma Jeffries. We do have an explanation for what seems to be the third offense.
Correct.
So under the third offense, we just passed under our current policy, the same thing, so I would assume that would be a $25 fine.
Correct.
Is my math correct on that? I did
Correct.
that one in my head, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen. I would like to
You go.
congratulate myself.
You have skills, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So do we have a motion on that one?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Oh, Chairperson Garlitz, Board
Yes.
Member Ray,
Yes.
Clerk Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0.
Thank you. And you can pay that fine as well in the clerk's office in person. I do believe there are other options, but please call up to the clerk's office to find out what those options might be. Next is Mr. Reynolds. I shouldn't assume candidate Reynolds. I apologize. It looks as if that one was received. We do have a letter, and it was the second offense. Do I have a motion on that one?
I will make a motion for, given that it is the second offense, a warning.
I'll second that.
Chairperson Garlitz,
Yes.
Board Member Ray,
Yes.
Clerk Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0.
The same goes for candidate Smith. Do we have a motion on?
I will make a motion for a second warning.
I'll second.
Chairperson Garlitz,
Yes.
Board Member Ray,
Yes.
Clerk Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0.
A little bit different, but first offense for candidate Stevens, and we do have an explanation as well. Do we have a motion on that one?
I will make a motion for a warning.
I will second that motion.
Chairperson Garlitz.
Yes.
Board Member Ray,
Yes.
Clerk Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0.
And lastly, candidate Wyatt, second offense. Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion for a second warning.
I will second that.
Chairperson Garlitz,
Yes.
Board Member Ray,
Yes.
Clerk Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0.
Thank you. And that concludes our current late filers. Again, candidates that have not turned in their filings, please make sure you get that done in a timely manner. Next is public comments. Do we have any public comments? I'll wait a minute for the online folks, but we do have someone in person. So if you are online and wish to make public comment, please use the raise hand function and we will address you as soon as possible.
Oh, hi. I'm Ralph Shaw, and I have a question about the new campaign finance policy that you just recently approved. Under the description, under the first offense, the last sentence says, "Any communication notification regarding the matter shall be the responsibility of party chairs." I have two questions, really. What if a candidate is an independent and has no party? And also, is it the proper role of the election board to delegate responsibilities to the party chairs? I think that it would be sensible to say the election board and staff will not be responsible for any additional communication or notification regarding the matter. And rather than telling somebody else to do it, just to say it's not our job.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and I think by default, we are abdicating responsibility on that. We are just noting that the party chairs, if they wish, can get involved. It's not our responsibility. So while I appreciate that comment, I don't think there's any need to change the policy. That is just more of a note than it is anything, and I agree with you, I guess, is anyone else is welcome to chime in.
I feel as though we had a comment in the previous minutes with the suggestion by Member Henry.
Correct.
So if you give me just a moment, I'll try to find that.
It was a reversion back to previously it was the responsibility of the party chairs, is my understanding, previous to the 2016 note or whatever it may have been. And Chairperson Henry suggested that we just kind of revert to that. That was my understanding of what he was referring to. But I do agree, I don't think it should be necessarily that we're delegating that responsibility, just simply noting that as chairs, they should be responsible for their candidates.
And I think that this does just add an interesting edge to it too, where the party chairs are kind of incentivized to be more up to date and involved with the process, which yeah, aside from just freeing up labor and time at the clerk's office, I think it is good just for having that encouragement for the party chairs to be more civically involved and aware of what's going on within their own party. I think it helps for a lot of accountability in government and, you know, strengthening the process over a partisan line. So
I agree. Are you still looking for that?
I was still looking because I wanted to reread it back into the minutes. I find the part where I shared that when I was first clerk, the election board would communicate the late filing to the party chair, and the party chair would reach out to the candidate, but that was not successful. But you're recalling the same thing that I am as far as
Yeah.
that. So I feel comfortable with what you've stated.
Okay. Any other comments?
I wanted to just say something. Today will be my last election board meeting, since tomorrow is my last day as Monroe County Election Supervisor. In recalling my 8.5 years with the county, I have worked in voter registration for 1.5 years, assisted in 3 elections, supervised 8 elections. And every one of those elections have been memorable, and every one of them have been successful. As Drew Stewart, the on-site project manager from Heart in Their Civic, said to me after a very stressful election, the difference between a successful or not successful election is easy to define. Every election will have problems, but a successful election is one that the problem is identified, a plan is created, and then that plan is executed. Every voter gets to vote. I have had 8 successful elections. In 2020, elections were hit hard. Monroe County purchased all new voting equipment and e-poll books. In January, the commissioners graciously gave us approval for a most needed renovation of Election Central. Then the pandemic hit, bringing new problems of every shape imaginable. All of this happened in a very short time, along with the election being a presidential election. I don't need to say it was more than difficult, but it ended with success. In 2022, the election brought 2 recounts to the county due to such a small margin with the votes. Since Monroe County hadn't had a single recount in many years, it certainly was not an easy task. Both recounts ended with the same results that they had started with. Both were successful. I received a very nice letter from the Indiana State Board of Accounts in regards to the District 62 recount, stating how they appreciated the, quote, professionalism and in-depth knowledge of the election process and materials. More importantly, the election materials were extremely neat and organized. Your organization and attention to detail greatly facilitated the speed of the recount in Monroe County, end of quote. Another successful story for the entire election staff. On a personal note, this has been a tough position to fill. I have learned so much and have met so many great people. Those relationships would not have existed if I had not taken this job. I have no regrets, and I have much thankfulness of heart. My hope is to find another job in Monroe County, as I truly have enjoyed being a part of it. Thank you for your support and recognition of the importance of the elections. May you see this aspect of Monroe County grow to even higher heights of excellency. It's been a pleasure to serve Monroe County, and I am hopeful that my next step will be to continue as a Monroe County employee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure I don't speak alone, and I can probably say this on behalf of the current and past board members. Thank you for your service, and wish you the best.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. With that, do I have a motion to recess?
I will make
And if I may interject, sorry. I just wanted to provide clarity on the question of a recess that was asked earlier. if you're going to recess, you have to provide a specific date and time. And if you can't provide the specific date and time now, then we would have to comply with the 48-hour notice requirement.
Thank you. So we will comply with the 48-hour notice. We have a motion to recess, and do I have a second?
Second?
Call the roll, please. For your last time.
That's time. Chairperson Garlitz.
Yes.
And Board Member Ray.
Yes.
And Clerk Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned, or recess, in recess.